Hello, welcome to part 2 of my tober challenge. In the last tober video I made, I talked about characters from my animated series concept. What I didn't mention is I actually have another one, though it is less developed. Light and Obliterate is my biggest project, so most of my attention goes to that. This next concept is sort of a playground of ideas, so if it seems all over the place, that's 'cause it kinda is. Also, if you by chance haven't seen my first tober video yet, I will link it in the description for you to go watch. As for this animated series concept, the premise is there's an elite force of mercenary angels who hunt demons. This mercenary group is called the Hell Hunters. It would follow an episodic formula where each episode is its own unique adventure. This is the biggest difference between Hell Hunters and Light and Obliterate, since Light and Obliterate has a narrative formula. Up first is Servion, the Hellhunter King. Now, when I say king, I don't mean in a monarchical sense. King is the title for leader/commander, the guy in charge of everything. Servion's job is to oversee everything, selecting which squads go on missions, and overall making sure everything goes smoothly within their ranks, as well as being their best fighter on top of it. Obviously, he's in charge for a reason. He's very straightforward and strict due to his position of being in charge, though he does have a softer side, especially with his daughter, who is also a hell hunter. Sometimes when a mission goes wrong, or just to blow off some steam, he'll leave for a few minutes to go rip some demons apart. I struggled with designing Servion, probably more than the rest of the characters I have here. I usually don't stick with the first design I make for a character, as later down the road I'll find problems with it and change it. Generally, all characters I have had for a while have had at least 4 redesigns, and that's me being extremely generous. Normally, I can land with a design I'm happy with, but Servion, I just could not find a design for him I was happy with. I need to keep it simple because he's supposed to be animated, but I can't make him look right with so few details. I made a simpler design for him that I thought I was happy with, but no. Oh, and about the simpler part, yeah, I didn't do that good enough either. It's still too complicated. I'm tired of animating it. Don't get too attached to his current design. I'm probably gonna change it. One of these days, Servion will get a design I'm satisfied with. Until then, here he is. Now onto the second in command, Eclipso. He's the right hand, or like I just said, second in command, even though he's been part of the Hell Hunters for longer than Servion. Eclipso and Servion are really good friends, which is why Servion promoted him to right hand when he became king. This also means Eclipso would become the king if Servion were to retire. Eclipso is inspired by the disassembly drones from murder drones. He's got some mechanical parts and weapons in his wrist. How will I write this into the lore? I don't know. Again, playground of ideas at the moment. Nothing is set in stone. As for his role, he basically helps Servion with anything he needs, as well as taking over when Servion, for whatever reason, needs to be absent. Also, Eclipso's Russian, because why not? I grouped these next 3 together mostly because they're siblings. They're a trio, they stick together. Their names are Avarthan, Axelius, and Lusania, but I will be referring to them by their shortened names, Avari, Axel, and Lucy, simply because it's easier for me. Also, the shortened names are canon and they do call each other them. Avari is the oldest of the 3. He's more of a risk taker, a little cocky, and sometimes doesn't take his job seriously, which ends up getting him into trouble with Servion. He also has dual swords that he can teleport to because I thought it was cool. Axel is the middle sibling. He's way more focused in combat compared to Avari, and the most mature out of them despite being the middle child. If you were to separate the trio into individuals, Axel would be the easiest one to separate. He stands alone easily and often does things by himself. And while he doesn't use it in combat super often, he does have a gun that fires stakes. Not the meat stakes, like railroad spikes. You know what I'm talking about. Lucy is the youngest sibling, and while I did refer to these 3 as a trio, her and Avari are an inseparable duo. She really takes after Avari, a little cocky but less of a risk taker. The weapon she primarily uses is a glaive like her brother Axel. I'm grouping these next two together because they would be pretty short sections if it was just them by themselves. They're sort of relevant for each other, but not a duo. I mentioned in Servion's section that he has a daughter. This is her, Divine. Now, she isn't Servion's only child, she does have a sister, though she is a lot younger than Divine and also isn't a Hellhunter. Divine does have a good relationship with her father. She receives a lot of her training from him, and despite her lower rank, she is widely respected among the Hellhunters, because she's the daughter of their best fighter. She's really blunt and feisty, taking after her father, and sometimes takes over her squad when leadership isn't going well, at least in her eyes. This sometimes leads her into getting into conflict with the other characters, sometimes even Servion. The relationship is good, but it's not perfect. Divine also becomes sort of a mentor figure for a younger squad member, who is the second character, Rigel. He's the youngest member in Divine's squad and probably the youngest Hellhunter. He really looks up to Servion, which is why he joined, and is also why he's friends with Divine. Rigel sees himself as a tough, fearless warrior and tries to act that way, but everyone, including Divine, sees him as just a child. And every time he tries to act stronger than he actually is, he is always reminded that he overestimates himself. Divine would play as a mentor figure for him and teach Rigel how to not be so overly confident. In my previous OC Tober video, I had the last bit be about the villains, and I'm going to do that here too, even though this part is just one character. This is Jaster, the only demon on this list. He's part of a group called Angel Poachers, demons who hunt angels for sport. Before I continue, I think it would help to explain the death system a little bit. Now, death for angels isn't permanent. When they die, they just resurrect the next day. However, each time you resurrect, you would lose some of your memories. At first it would be recent ones, but it would progress to longer-term memories. For example, the first time you die, you would just forget the battle you died in, which most of the time is a good thing because it was likely a traumatic experience that you wouldn't want to remember. However, if you die enough times, you could forget everyone you know and even who you are. Very few demons have been able to do this to angels, Jaster being one of those few. He's a very smug and sadistic poacher. He constantly butts heads with the other characters, Exilius being the most common one since the two have a particular gripe with each other. Another character is actually Rigel because the two are brothers. And that was part 2 of my OC Tober challenge. This one was a bit shorter because these characters were a bit more underdeveloped than I thought, and I have some more writing to do. Hopefully I don't have too much trouble with the next 2 parts, and I just realized I'm only halfway through writing these scripts, and I am in pain. But other than that, that's the end of the video.